welcome to Farming Simulator, and allow me to tell you why this might be a game that you really enjoy, even though you might not think that at first because you're thinking, Farming Simulator, yeah, I know, I get it, don't worry. Give me a few minutes though, and I will explain why. So the first thing I want to do before I do anything else, I want to go into the options menu. I am going to turn off Fieldstone. I don't like how it works in game, and I'm going to turn off the AI workers automatically. Like they'll magically do stuff. I don't want them to magically do anything. The big one is the automatic engine start stop. I want that off. Go ahead and save that. Now, I am going to do the little tutorial here, but I'm going to blow through it super fast. And that's because it shows a couple things, and I want to kind of like talk about them a little bit, but not a lot. Okay, so automatic engine start. The reason I turned that off, right then, I had to start the engine myself, right? And by default, it would have started the engine for me. Why wouldn't I want that? Well, because automatic engine start is also automatic engine stop, and I don't want it to shut the engine off. I want the engine on until I shut the engine off. Okay, so we're going to go ahead. First thing it's going to have us do is cultivate the ground here. And, you know, it's Farming Simulator, so you might have expected something like this. Like, oh, yeah, you're going to, like, you know, cultivate the field, and, you know, maybe you're going to plant something, and maybe you're going to harvest something. And yeah, I get that. But there's so much more to this game that has nothing to do with anything you're seeing right now. And that's what makes it so cool. Well, number one, there's that. There's so much to do. There's so much content. But two, the other thing is you can turn off or just skip a lot of the stuff if you don't want to do it. So for example, I don't like driving stuff around like this. This is not fun to me. Some people think this is fun, and that's great because then you can do it. But if you don't like doing this, you could just not do it. I would normally be able to hire a worker right now and then just go and do something else. I can't do that right now because it's a tutorial and I have to drive. But the point is, think of Farming Simulator like RPG, and there's all these quests in the RPG, and some of the quests are quests you don't want to do, like, oh, go here and collect 100 of the thing. You're like, ugh, I don't like that kind of quest. Well, in Farming Simulator, if the company that made this game, Giants, made an RPG, I feel like when that quest came up, you would just press a button and you would say, I don't want to do that. I'm going to hire an adventurer and they're going to go do that quest for me. And so the quest still gets completed, but you don't have to do it. Somebody else does it. It just costs you a little bit. So that's what I like about this game is there's so many different tasks that need done, and you can either just turn them off in the options menu, like I did with the Fieldstone, or you can just have somebody else do it and just not do it yourself. And a lot of these tasks in the game have nothing to do with farming. So let me finish cultivating this field real quick, and then we will go on to the next step. I would like to say too, FS25 added this. I don't want to call it ground deformation because you're not actually deforming the ground. It looks like you are. It's just like a visual thing, but it does really look like you're deforming the ground. And I don't know, it's just like little details like that that adds a lot. And that's kind of the thing with Farming Simulator is that I like how things are done. Each new version does add new, things like that. So let me finish this off real quick, even though he thinks it's done. Okay, so the next thing it's going to have us do is come over here. We're going to drop our cultivator and we're going to hook up to our seeder. And we're going to go ahead and seed a field. And it is August. And there's an in-game. I don't know that I can access it right now. No, because I'm... No, I can't get to the calendar, can I? No, because I'm in the tour. There's an in-game calendar, and it shows you all the crops, and it shows you when you can plant them and when you can harvest them. So it's going to have us plant canola because we can plant canola. We can plant canola right now. I'm going to pull up here. Because the seed is there, the doors are automatically going to open, and I'm going to try to get my camera just right. I'm going to press the button there, and you're going to see that slowly fill up with the seed. And then we can go over here, and it's going to have us, don't worry, we're not going to do the whole thing. It's going to have us get started, and then it's going to explain to us that we can hire a worker. So he's just going to have me make this line down for a little bit, and then we'll hire a worker to keep going on the field. And that's what I like about the game is, oh, you don't want to do it? Hire a worker. Okay, so I'm going to press H. It's hired the worker. The worker right now is driving, not me. So that's switched from my character to another character, even though I'm still in there. He's just sitting inside of me or something. But there is a downside to workers. they kind of drive around a little slower and pathfind and try to figure out what they're doing, and they are not as efficient. So one-on-one, you can go faster than a worker. But I could have a worker in this field and a worker in that field and a worker in that field, and then I could still be doing something else. Like right now, it's going to have me go and run over and harvest the little bit that's left across the street. And I do really like this map. I think they did a really good job with it. Riverbend Springs. It has that definite river town feel from the Midwest. And there's all kinds, this part here isn't necessarily Rivertown, but this is definite Midwest. Like I've been in areas like this of Indiana where this is the main road and it comes up here and the main road goes off to the right and straight is someone's driveway. It happens to be a business's driveway, but it's, you know, it's a private drive here. That's not really the road. And then you got like a little viaduct there going under the tracks, and it just feels right. It just feels very Midwest to me. So I really like this map. I think they did a good job. Okay, now this combine, well, most combines, when you're in cereal crops like this, wheat, oats, that kind of stuff, you have the option of dropping the straw directly on the ground, or I can click an option, which I just did, and it's going to spread the straw out like that, which it just kind of colors the ground, but nothing builds up. Now, I'm going to go ahead and drop it, and now let me explain the difference why. In the Midwest, you are going to see most farmers spread the straw on the ground like that back there, not right here. And it's because they don't have a specific need for the straw. And by putting it back on the ground, it costs them money. They spent money on fertilizer to grow this crop. And part of it they're going to harvest, but the part that they don't want, the straw, if they put that back on the ground, it's going to get reincorporated back into the dirt, and it's technically acting like a fertilizer, so they would spend a little less money next year, right? So that's the way you're typically going to see it in my area, is no one's going to drop the straw in windrow and come back and bale it into straw bales unless it's because they need the straw. They've got animals or they've got some reason that they want the straw. Then they're going to bale the straw. In game, that's not usually what you see when you're watching people play, because this area up here represents nothing, and this area behind me represents straw bales I could sell for money. So in game, you're going to see people bale straw a lot for money, and that's because straw sells in game for like ridiculous amounts of money compared to real life. And it's not that much money. If you've played the game before, you're going, straw doesn't sell for that much. Yeah, you have no idea how little straw sells for in real life. Like straw is like, there's nothing, there's no money in straw. Let's just say that. So I just kind of wanted to give the difference there. We're going to bale straw because we've got animals and I have a use for straw. If I didn't, I wouldn't bale straw, even though you're going to see a lot of people bale straw because they make more money off of it. Now, FS25 for the first time does factor in dropping the straw on the ground like that back there, spreading it, and you get like a 2.5% bonus. So they did try to factor that in. I don't think the money works out even like remotely right though still, by just because of how much you can sell straw bales for in the game. But I just want to explain why you're not going to see me bale straw unless I have a reason for it. Or I guess a better way to explain it is, if you watched enough people play Farming Simulator, you might see 90% of them bale straw and 10% spread it. And in real life, in the same area, if this was a real area and you went and watched the farmers in real life, you would probably see 90% of them spread the straw and 10% bale it. And that is something I strive to do, is I try to play the game the way the farmers in my area farm. And that's why I've turned the fieldstone off, because it doesn't work the way it would work in my area. So a lot of times you're going to see me do things a certain way, and it's because that's how it's done here. But that's the cool thing about the game, is that you can do it so many different ways, whether it's realistic for my area or your area, or just completely unrealistic. It is a video game. You can do whatever you want. Okay, so this is where I like having the automatic engine start stop off, because right now the combine's still running, right? You can hear it and see it. I'm going to switch over to here.
Come back to the field.
Now I do have to manually start this tractor up, right? But the combine is still running. Otherwise, normally the combine would have shut off right now. and I'll be able to drive up, and the moment I drive under the pipe of the combine, it's going to start offloading because the combine's still on. And so I just like it that way. If I turn something on, I want it to stay on until I turn it off. There is a downside to that in that you forget to shut something off, and then you're just wasting a whole bunch of fuel. But so you can see, like right now, boom. Normally I would have had to switch back to the combine to start the engine to offload. And unfortunately, because this is the tutorial, I'm locked into this tractor until I sell this, so I can't shut the combine off. So the combine's just going to go ahead and run for a little bit. So the last thing it's going to have us do in the tutorial is drive over to the sell point, sell this, and then come back to the farm. So we're going to go ahead and do that real quick. And just like there's the in-game calendar for when you can plant stuff, there's also one for sell prices. And sell prices vary throughout the year. And pretty much in general, whatever point in the year it is that you harvest something, that's probably not the point in the year that you want to sell something. So most of the time, pretty much anything, when you harvest it, you want to hold on to it and then sell it at a different date. But because this is a tutorial, it's going to have us go sell it right now. Oh, and I'm very happy to see what crop is in this field, because one of the things that we're going to do is I like to buy this field. And I don't want to see potatoes or something in that field that I'm not going to be able to harvest. So I'm very happy to see that. It's very random. Each time you start a new map, the crops that are in the fields that you don't own are randomized. So coming up here is where we get that more river town feel. We've got the bridge, and there are barges that go under this. And I don't know, this river might be a little small for barge traffic. Maybe not. It feels right. It feels like a river town. And I also really like the traffic. I was kind of hoping we'd have some more traffic here. The past farming simulator games have had traffic, but this map, there is basically a UPS truck. There's a postal service truck, and then there's a school bus. And seeing any of those driving around, you're out, like in the country, driving your tractor, and all of a sudden you see a school bus go by in the daytime, and it's like, it just feels right. Not every car is quite right for this map. There is a little dump truck that drives around that bothers me because it's just not an American style truck at all. Oh, and there's a concrete truck that bothers me too because it is correct for some areas of the country, but not my area. So I wish I had a Indiana style concrete truck where the concrete comes out the front. But even with those little nitpicks aside, they did a really good job. I mean, I don't know, I can't even put it into words. There's just something about seeing the little mail or UPS or the school bus, and you're just like, it feels like you're in the Midwest. I mean, we have school buses. Oh, there's a school bus down there, I think. Yep, there goes a school bus. I don't know, it just makes me feel like I'm at home. So we're going to go back to the farm, and then the tutorial's going to end, and then we're going to get started. But I just want to point out, right over here is the shop, and let me get my cursor here. This is the shop, so that's where we buy stuff. Or I shouldn't call it the shop, I should call it the dealer. That's where we buy stuff, and then this over here is where the repair point is, and that's where you can sell stuff and repair stuff. Okay, and that is the end of the tutorial. So they've kind of given us a little rundown on how to do things, and they've started us off with the farm here. We've got the main farm and these 3 little fields, and we got that field across the street. And we already saw, we just finished harvesting that field. These 2 are now empty, and there's still this field here, which has got canola in it. And then I plan to buy the field, and I do have a mod that lets me run faster, just to save time. Stuck on the sign. Okay, this is wheat. I wasn't sure. So we're going to be able to buy that wheat field as well. So we got all those kinds of things we can do right now. But the first thing I want to do is equipment. I don't like this equipment. I want to switch all the equipment. We are going to keep the seeder, which I think magically, is back in here. We're going to keep this so it can go ahead and stay here. But everything else needs to go back to the shop, either to get sold, or we're going to keep the 2 tractors, but we're going to modify them. And instead of driving them back to the shop, I can just reset them. And resetting something, you click on it in the map, and then it lets you reset it, and it sends it back to the shop. And that's for when you get stuck. You will at some point have something drive off a bridge and be in the water or whatever, and you cannot get it out, you can reset it. Now, the only downside to resetting it is, number one, you got to be careful and you don't accidentally sell it. But the other downside to resetting it is if it has inventory, it's going to lose its inventory when you reset it. Okay, so that's everything reset to the shop except for the cedar. So I'm going to go back over here, and you did see there, I could have sold it, right? It came up and I could have sold it. Well, if you come back to the shop and you go to the sell point, which is over at that little building, you're going to get more money. You also, if you repair and repaint, you get a little bit more money, not a lot. And I'll show you the numbers here in just a second. Make sure I'm in the trigger with all 3 pieces. So from the main menu, right? I'm not in that trigger point. From the main menu, if I click on this, I can sell this tractor or this combine $47,300. If I come in here, I can sell it for $52,000, right? I'm going to get almost $5,000 more just by driving that thing here. Now, if I repair it for $412,000, that would get me $52,000 plus the $412,000, $38,000. Is my math right? I don't know. And $479,000, right? So you got a little bit more. And the same thing if I go to repaint it for $14,000. What's that? 14 plus 52. That would be 66, $479,000. And you see you got like $1,000 there. So repairing it and repainting it gets you a little bit. Driving it back to the sell point gets you a lot. So if you're going to sell something that's real cheap, like this trailer for $300, now I wouldn't drive that back to the sell point and repair it and repaint it. But big stuff, yeah, 100%. And like I said, we're going to keep the 2 tractors, but we're going to sell these other 2 implements. So let's get these 2 implements driven over. And some people might be annoyed, like, oh, it takes so much longer to start the tractor. Yeah, but if I'm going to be jumping back and forth a bunch, I just leave everything on, and that makes it much quicker. Okay, so we'll go ahead and sell those 2 things there. Now, I will go ahead and I will repair the 2 tractors. I'm not repainting them. There's really, honestly, no reason to repaint something unless you're selling it, because you're just going to tear it up again. Okay, so at this point, we should just have those 2 tractors and the cedar back at the farm, which I can go here and verify. Yep, we've only got 3 vehicles. We've got a tractor, and a cedar. I'm now going to go back to the farm in the construction mode, and I'm going to sell a bunch of stuff that I don't want. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to sell this shed. It's only $300, but it's also going to be in my way. I'm going to keep this windmill with water tank here. I'm going to keep this shed. I'm going to keep the big barn. I'm going to keep the silo, and I'm going to keep the pasture. But we're going to get rid of this little thing here. Yeah, it's not going to sell us for very much. I'm going to get rid of both of these solar panels, which will net us some decent money. And the reason they're so expensive is these actually generate money every day. There's a couple different things like that you can put down where you basically spend money and it gets you some money every day. I don't like that. Like, I'm already playing the game on easy just this one time. I do not need like extra money every day. We're going to go ahead and sell all these bees. Now, the bees is a production and little pallets of honey will spawn there. But honestly, for what we're going to get out of it, it's just not really worth it to me. This here is kind of cool. You can build this shed. You have to drop wood off and build the shed. I'm not going to need that. I cannot sell the house or that barn, but I can sell this little barn. That one gets us $5,000. And then there's a little thing out here on the road that I can sell for another $5,000 to do this manually. There is a collectible over here. Where's the barn at? Okay, right here. There was a collectible over here that was in this barn. R to collect it. That gets us $10,000, so that's kind of worth doing. Okay, and the last thing we're going to do is we're going to take out a loan. And in my testing, even though I do the same thing, sometimes I can take a $570,000 loan and sometimes I can take a $575,000. And I don't know why. Yeah, let me take $575,000. Sometimes it only lets me take $570,000. I don't know. Couldn't tell you the reason why. Okay, so what are we going to buy? Well, I do want to buy that field across the street, so I guess we could go ahead and do that right away. Field number 8 here. We'll go ahead and buy that just to get that money out of here. And I'm pretty happy with our field setup because we've still got this field we can harvest, and now we've got that field we can harvest, and then we need to do some cultivating and do a bunch of other things. But don't worry, there's plenty more in the game other than just that. I'm going to modify these tractors, I think, first off. Okay, so the Challenger, we'll go ahead and customize it. And when you go to buy something, you can customize it when you buy it, or you can come back later and customize it. We're going to be turning off license plates on things that would never have a license plate. It does annoy me a little bit. I understand in Europe, lots of things have license plates that don't here. But if I'm playing an American map, just turn the license plates off on the tractors and the implements and the things that wouldn't have plates. That's all I'm saying. We're going to go with the wide tires with weights. It's already got the big front weight. And then the big thing here is we're at 160 horsepower. For 24 grand, I can go to 225 and get a bigger model. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So this is going to be our fieldwork tractor. And it's got the bigger tires and the weights. Now, in game, these tires versus these tires make no difference whatsoever. There is no such thing in the game as getting stuck in the mud or anything like that. There's no compaction in the game yet. Right? In real life, farmers are very concerned about compaction, and the more you compact the ground, the worse things grow. None of that exists in the game. The only thing you need to know up until Farming Simulator 25, who knows, maybe the next one will be different, is that if you have crop destruction on, which I do, then there is one difference with wheels, and that's narrow tires. Narrow tires let you drive through the crop and not damage it. And it doesn't work like it does in real life, because in real life, the reason the tire is narrow is that the plant would be right there. I would be driving down the row with the, narrow tire. And in this game, no, you can drive the tire right down the row of plants and just, it's magic. Narrow tires just let you go through the field. So I'm going to switch to the narrow tires, but I'm going to do something I normally wouldn't do. And I'm going to do the double fronts. And that's because we're going to put a front loader on this, and right here, front loader, it's going to give us this attachment, and that's for stability because the other tractor can't take a front loader. I wish it did. It's a bigger tractor. So we've got our big fieldwork tractor here that's got a lot more horsepower, and it's got bigger tires just for realism purposes. The weights do actually help, so that is good. And that's going to do a lot of our big field work. But then when we needed to get into a field that's got stuff growing, we've got this tractor, and this tractor is going to have a front loader for any of our front loader work. I'm going to go ahead and just drive one of these back over here just so you can kind of see as I'm buying the other things. Okay, so one of the things is most maps have predefined fields, but you can make fields. Like, for example, do I need field 3, 4, and 5 to be 3 separate fields? No. So I can combine those into one field. And the way I do that is with a plow. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to buy a plow. And I've got a mod. And the reason I've got a mod is all the plows in game are at an angle. And that's fine. Except that if you're trying to create a field, it's a lot harder. So I've got this. And I'm just going to go ahead and make it a John Deere color, even though it might actually get used with the other tractor. But I just kind of default to John Deere stuff. So I don't care that that's not necessarily realistic as a 6-meter plow. I mean, you could have something like that, but you would probably need a bulldozer to tow something like that. Not, whatever it says here, 80 horsepower. I don't think you're going to pull that with an 80 horsepower tractor, at least not very deep. It looks more like a cultivator than anything, but we're going to use it to create fields. That's it. In real life, in my area, no one uses plows like this anymore, whatever this is, like a 12 or 14 bottom plow. No one uses stuff like this because they've all kind of figured out it's actually not good for the ground to just keep taking the top, 8 or 10 inches and flipping it over. It causes a lot of issues, so nobody does that. So I'm not going to plow anything, which is also why I have periodic plowing off in the menu, but we will use a plow to create fields. Now, what we actually need to work the ground is a cultivator, and we just had one, and it was fine, but it's only 4 meters, and it takes forever to cultivate the field. So for 4 meters at 110 horsepower, I can go down to this one, Yeah, it's 50 grand. It's 5 times as much, but I can go to 7.5 meters and it's only 190 horsepower. And I can pull that now because my tractor's got 225. So going from 4 to 7.5 is going to make a significant difference. And we will take the license plate off because, again, this is something that would never have a license plate. Okay, now the way you do things in game about like working the ground, you can kind of do it in different orders. So I'm going to kind of just go in a certain order here, but it's not necessarily the order you would go in game. I'm going to need a fertilizer spreader. And I like going for this one because it does fertilizer and it does lime. And we're going to need to do both of those things because lime is a big thing that happens in my area. And that's because as you put down the chemicals and the fertilizer on the ground, it changes the pH. So every once in a while, you have to have lime put down to change the pH back to neutral. Otherwise, you would just slowly destroy the ground. So we're going to go with the big extension and we're going to go with the spreading unit. Here's where I'm going to be a little unrealistic. This is the correct tire, the standard tires. In fact, I would probably want wider tires because if you fill this up with lime, that's a lot of weight. I'm going to put narrow tires on it, which I find highly unrealistic that something this big could have 2 narrow tires like that because I feel like that's just going to just really sink down into the ground. But I'm going to put this on there because if we couple this to the John Deere tractor, we can now drive through the field. So if we're using solid fertilizer, we probably want to put it down before we plant, but I have the option with this to go back after. So I can put down my lime and I can put down solid fertilizer. So I'm going to go ahead and buy a sprayer, and you probably wouldn't see a lot of people do this. I do have this mod here. We're going to go with this one. And I got to do that because I got to get my little triangle because that is what we need in the US. Your farming implements got to have your little triangle on it. And I'm going to buy that, and then I'm going to buy the front tank for it. Oops, hold on. Almost didn't turn the license plate off. And just like the fertilizer spreader lets me do fertilizer or lime, this also lets me do fertilizer or herbicide. Now, in game, you don't need to do both. You could do solid or you could do liquid. I like this because now I have the option to do both. I could do solid or liquid. I can do either one because I'm pretty sure that this sprayer by default comes... Oh, because this one doesn't have tires, right? This sprayer doesn't have tires. So by default, I'm going to put this on the John Deere tractor. I can now drive through the field, right? Doesn't really matter. Some of these sprayers, I think, have options. Well, that one might just come with small ones. Yeah, narrow tires, wide tires, right? So some of them have options like that. But this gives me the option, again, to do fertilizer or herbicide however I want in pretty much any circumstance. Now, we've already got a sprayer, but I'm also going to buy a weeder, or specifically, I think this one's a hoe, because it will act as a weeder or a hoe, and the hoe is for vegetables and stuff. So I'm going to buy this. You can do this instead of spraying. Now, in real life, you couldn't plant. Okay, let me start over. In game, if I plant a cornfield and I run through with a planter and plant corn, and then immediately 5 seconds later run through with this machine, no weeds will grow in that cornfield for the entire rest of the year in the default game, which is highly unrealistic. That wouldn't happen in real life. In real life, if the corn started coming up and you ran this through, you could run through the field up to a certain point. But then after that, you couldn't run this thing through the field. The corn would be too big, but yet the weeds would still grow after that and you would have to spray it. That's not the way it works in game, but I'm buying equipment because I'm doing it how you would do it in real life and not necessarily what I have to do in game. And it also gives me options because we are going to do contracts. And it's so easy to make money with contracts. It's so ridiculously easy because you can just borrow the items. So like, look here, I'm going to get this giant tractor and this stone picker and a truck, and it would only cost me $600 to lease all that equipment. And, we'd only make $2,000 instead of $26. But it's like, it's too easy to make money. So we are only going to do contracts if we own the equipment. We are not going to lease equipment to do contracts. And that's another reason why I'm kind of going with multiple different ways. Where, how do you take weeds out of the ground? Well, you can use a weeder or you can use a sprayer. Cool, I got both. How do you do fertilizer, solid or liquid? Oh, I got both. Okay, and the last thing is rollers. And I'm going to go with this roller. Now, in my area of the Midwest, I've never seen anybody roll anything yet. I think it's coming. I think it's coming because there's a farmer on YouTube I watch in Ohio who has started rolling stuff. And I've seen more farmers rolling stuff. So I feel like it's probably on the way. But as of yet, I haven't seen anybody roll anything. And when they do roll stuff, it would never be this kind of roller. I don't know what that's for. Like, that's like busting up dirt clods or something. That's why I turn off Fieldstone, because it doesn't work the way I want it to work. The way I've seen the rollers work is that you plant the crop and then you immediately come back with the roller to smash all the rocks in the ground. You're pushing the little rocks down in the ground. And it doesn't quite work like that in game. So that's why I don't like it. But even though we turn the Fieldstone off, it still is going to ask us to roll. So we're going to roll right after we plant because that's realistic. So I'm still doing exactly what I would do. It's just that I turned the stone off. Okay, now the last thing we need, because now what we've got the plow to make the fields. So we'll just do that once and then we don't have to make fields. We can cultivate it. We can put down lime or fertilizer. We can weed it. We can roll it. That'll get the crop all the way up to the end. Now we need to harvest it, right? So now we're going to buy a combine, and we just sold a combine. And I like progression. I like starting with a little machine and then working your way up. I don't know. It's just fun that you got to start with the little thing and work your way up. And this little combine is fine. I found this mod and it's a little unrealistic. Okay, let's just be honest. It's a little unrealistic. I'm going to go with the most realistic options it has. Got my little triangle. Obviously turn the license plate off because a combine would never have a license plate in the United States. And I appreciate that's the correct color. And it's cool for a little bit. But in testing, I couldn't take that color long term. So we're going to go with this combine in that color. Okay. We're going to get, and the reason I'm switching to this is the Massey comes with this style header, but it doesn't have a corn header with it. I'm pretty sure you can use one of the other corn headers, but whatever. I found this mod and I like it. So I 5 meter header is a little bit small. I would like a little bit bigger. Unfortunately, it jumps way up to 7.7. Progression wise, I should probably start with that one, but I'm just going to go with this one. Again, we're going to change the color. This isn't like that huge of a header, but we're going to go with this one. I just smacked my mic too, so you might have heard that. Now for corn, as much as I want to go with this, a 6 meter header, I think that's way too big for that size of a combine. I think this is far more realistic, and we're going to go with this because we need a reason to want to upgrade later. And we're going to buy a header trailer. I don't need it for the corn header, obviously, but for the big header, I'll need one if I'm going to have the AI helper drive the thing down the road. Okay, I'm going to jump in the combine and combine those things together real quick, just because if I don't, I'll quickly run out of space down here, and then it's going to start putting the stuff I buy here. So give me just 1 second. And I'm so glad they finally got this down where you can just kind of get it close and it will jump. It'll jump on and connect itself, and it's connected solid. And I remember in FS19, it would look like it was on, and then you would start driving down the road and then the header would fall off. And it was a huge, huge pain. I probably should have connected the corn header first. I'm being honest, but if I don't, yeah, I was able to back that up a lot farther than I expected. And that might look silly to you, like, that's barely wider than the combine. Yeah, that's actually pretty realistic for that old of a combine, that the corn header would be not much bigger than the combine itself. And that probably is too big of the other header, but hey, it is what it is. Okay, so that takes care of the field work stuff, the farming part of Farming Simulator. We've got it covered. That's all the equipment we need. We still need technically a planter if I wanted to plant corn, but that's okay. We don't have to plant corn. There's a difference between the seeders and the planters, and there's vegetables in the game. Those take specialized things too, but we have the seeder, so we can plant crops. We just can't. We'll need a planter to do corn. So what are we going to do next? Well, animals. We do have some cows that I've talked about with the straw. And the animals need water. So we're going to take care of the water here in a second. But they also need food. Now, the good thing is if you don't feed your animals, nothing bad happens. They're not going to reproduce and you're not going to make money off of them. So you got to feed them and water them to make money. But if you forget, nothing sad is going to happen to the animals. The cow pasture has a meadow. And so they have some stuff to eat, but it's not the greatest. It's only 40%. We can feed them hay. That'll get 80%. Or eventually we'll want to do total mixed ration, which is hay and silage and straw, I believe. So that's why we're going to bale some straw because we're going to need it later for the TMR. But right off the bat, we can do hay. But first thing we're going to do is worry about the water. So I'm going to go down and get a water tank. And I just need a little one. Now, would this have a license plate? This trailer, if you bought it from this company, probably would have a VIN number and a title. Well, I don't know that it'd be a VIN number, but a serial number or whatever trailers have. And you probably could go to the DMV and register it as a trailer and put a license plate on it. I have a feeling the majority of their customers that are farmers would absolutely not register it. So I'm not going to put a license plate on it. If you were a construction company and you hauled this every day behind your pickup to go to the job site because you needed water and you're always going somewhere else, you probably would have a license plate on it then, right? Because then you're on the road all the time. But farmers, no, I don't think you'd have a license plate on that. So in order to pull that around, what we're going to be using mainly for our animals, because again, we only have 3 cows, we're going to, clicked on the wrong one. We're going to come down and I'm going to go with this Can-Am. And I do want a windshield on it. Whether this has a plate or not would depend on what state in the US you live in and probably even what county and what your county rules are. I don't know about the county I live in now, but my old county, which was a very rural county, the county rules in my old county were you could have a 4-wheeler or an ATV and you could drive it on the county roads and it was perfectly legal and you did not need to license it or register it or anything. There were some rules around the driver, like you had to be, I don't remember if you had to have a driver's license, but you had to be over a certain age and, those kinds of things. But then other counties in Indiana, you probably would have to register this. And even in my county where I didn't have to register this, you can't drive it on state roads. You can only drive it on county roads, right? So as a farmer in a rural area, I'm not going to put a license plate on this because probably you wouldn't have one, but you might. And that thing is going to pull our little water trailer around, and we're also going to be able to use the bed to throw some hay bales in the back of. So now let's talk about hay, right? I talked about it a little bit, grass and such. So we're going to come down here. I need something to mow grass. And in Farming Simulator, these style mowers, the big one on the back with the little one on the front, that is very common. I've never seen anyone in the Midwest with this style mowing hay. I'm not saying there's not. That's not anything I've ever seen. You just don't see that. This is far more common, something like this or the older style. I'm going to go with this batwing mower, which is not realistic. I don't think I've ever seen anyone use a batwing. It's basically a big brush hog to mow hay. I don't think this is what you would want to mow hay with because it's going to chop it up like too small. The reason I'm going with it, though, is I need a mower, and it's a big, wide mower that goes fast. But this specific mod actually has some options where it can be a brush hog, and it'll cut down bushes, and it'll cut down stumps, and we're going to be doing some logging. And so I want to go ahead and buy this because we're going to go in and cut down trees, and then we're going to have stumps, and we're going to have a bunch of little bushes, and I'm going to be able to run this thing through here like a brush hog, like you really would with a brush hog to clear the land. And so it's, even though unrealistic in a way, it's very realistic in what we're going to do with it, other than cutting hay. But we're also going to use it to cut hay. So now we've got the grass on the ground. The next thing we're going to do is a tedder. And when you cut a whole bunch of grass and lay it down on the ground, you got to get it to dry before you can turn it into hay. And what a tedder does is it kind of flips it over and fluffs it up and turns it over so that the stuff on the bottom that's wet can get more up to the top and get more air. Now, in real life, you let it dry, you ted it, you let it dry, right? Like there's a process. In Farming Simulator, you just ted it and it just magically, immediately turns the grass into hay. So to make grass into hay, you just run over it with a tedder and it's hay. The last thing then, before we bale it, is a windrower. I'm going to go with this windrower right here. And the windrower just brings it all together and puts it in a pile, kind of like the straw was coming out of the back of the combine. Then we're going to go ahead and bale it. And again, progression. Do I want some big giant baler? Oh, yeah, absolutely. But you got to start small. And also, we only have 3 cows. So is a farmer with 3 cows going to buy this giant $200,000 baler? No. They realistically might quite possibly have this little tiny baler that puts out the little square bales. These are like the 100-pound or something. I don't know. I don't know what they weigh. I don't remember. Just off the top of my head, like from memory, I feel like a straw bale weighs like 100 pounds or something. But the little square bales. And I think that's realistic for somebody that has 3 cows. The only thing is, instead of using the base game one, I've got a mod one. And the thing the mod does, it gets you a little thing here where I can have the triangle on or off, and I can, change the sticker and stuff. And that's not why I have this mod. The main reason I have this mod is this mod, the hitch actually works. And the default base game one, the hitch doesn't work. So we're going to go with that one. And that's because in the base game, you're supposed to make these little square bales and drop them on the ground and then come back later. Well, and you can pick the square bales up by hand. That's kind of the advantage of them. So you could just pick them up by hand. But the base game transport thing here is this. I've never seen anything like this in real life. I'm sure it exists. I'm sure this is a real thing, but I've never seen I've never in my entire life seen anybody bale little square bales and drop them on the ground. That just seems crazy. The only thing I've ever seen anyone do with that style little baler is pull something like a hay wagon behind it. And there would be a person or two standing here, and they would, take the bales and walk them to the back, and they would stack them up. Now, this is an auto-loading one, which means that, you can just drive along, and if bales are on the ground, they'll automatically just appear onto the trailer. That's not why we're using it. We're not using it in a kind of cheaty auto-loading way. We're using it in an auto-loading way because this is 100% realistic. This is exactly what would happen is the bales would go from the baler onto the trailer. It's just that there'd be a person standing here doing it instead of them just jumping magically. But, that's not an option. If there was an option here that said, hey, make this cost, $30 an hour and have a guy stand here, sure, cool. Okay, so that's everything we need. We already, the harvester will drop straw, and we can take the bales and we can bale straw, or we can cut down our grass and we can ted it and windrow it and we can bale it so we can make hay and we can make straw. Later, we can take hay, straw, and silage and we can turn it into TMR. I don't have a way to make silage right now because I don't think you can bale these little bales. I don't even think that's a thing in real life. I've never seen little bale silage like that, but that's not how I was going to do the silage anyway. So that takes care of that. So what's the last thing we're going to do? Well, we're going to do some wood, and that's because where am I going to get grass from? If you go back and look here at the fields we own, we've got a little bit of grass here. There's a little bit of grass here. There's a little bit there, and there's a little bit there. And if we just start cutting down some trees, kind of like this grass area here, I can very quickly make one right there. And that's a decent amount of grass considering we only have 3 cows. I'm not talking about cutting everything down. I'm not talking about we're going to cut all these trees down. You could, and there's good money in trees, but we're just going to cut some trees down. We're probably going to cut a lot down in here. And then there's a few here and a few there. And and they're probably not going to mess with these, although I'll probably take a tree out here on the corner just so I can see around that corner better. But the thing with the trees, logging and forestry is an actual thing in the game, and it's, really lucrative, but it's based around tall, skinny trees, and all the equipment in the game is made for that. The trees that we're going to have are trees like this. These trees are not made for logging, but we're going to log them. So we're going to have to kind of work around it a little bit, okay? It's going to be a little janky. The first thing I need to buy is a chainsaw so we can cut the tree down. Once we got the tree on the ground, I need something. Well, no, let's start with the truck and the trailer. So before I explain how we get it onto the trailer, because I need to explain why the way we get it on the trailer is going to be so janky. We're going to go with this trailer here. That would definitely have a license plate. It would definitely have a front guard. I'm going to turn it off. And in real life, you would always want that there. I'm turning it off, though, because it's you're going to see how challenging it can be to get a tree into here. So I don't want to get stuck on that. That's why we're not going to have it. It's not realistic to not have it, but I need to not have it because it's going to make it more difficult. And I need a semi to pull that. And I always like looking for a mod for an older, like not very good semi. And this isn't even a semi, it's a GMC top kick, or I think it's basically the same as a Chevy Kodiak. And we're going to go with the long chassis, and we're going to put a fifth wheel on it. And it's only a single axle. And of course, I need my antennas here. And we'll put fenders on it. And mud flaps. And I don't think... It's got a license plate on the front. I don't think I can put one on the back. So I'm going to go ahead and buy this. And this is going to act as our semi, obviously. But it's also going to do one other thing for us. I'm going to buy this grain box for it. Because I need something to get the grain from the field to the silo, and then from the silo to the sell point and stuff. So this will be kind of dual use, and we can use this guy to haul the semi-trailer around, but we'll also be able to use this guy when we're harvesting our crop here to haul the grain around. And yeah, I don't know how this would work, like the fifth wheel's in the way, but listen. Just pretend that we had to take the fifth wheel off before we did that. Okay, so the very last thing we need is how are we getting the logs from the ground onto that trailer? And that's where I had to really make some compromises. This is our tractor with the front end loader. I wish the bigger tractor took one. It didn't. I couldn't really afford to go with the bigger tractor that took front end loaders. I messed around with it. I downloaded some mods. I looked at some stuff. What I came up with was this mod for this New Holland T8, but we're just going to use the front loader off of it. And the New Holland T8 is a much larger tractor, much larger than this John Deere. But it's got a huge arm on it. And I kind of thought it was going to spawn over there, but it spawned over there. It's going to look funny, okay? It's going to look funny. And we're going to need a front loader tool. And in game, you have these log forks. And that looks very realistic. And in real life, something like that would work great, especially if you had the hydraulics hooked up to where those were independent cylinders. So when you're holding down, like if the first one clamped down hard and the other one was loose and the other one could keep going and clamp down hard, that would work great. And that's because, two big steel things, especially like that, and hydraulics, it's going to go down, it's going to crush the wood a little bit, and it's going to hold on to it great. The physics in game, the way the logs work and stuff, you can't crush anything. So no matter how hard you try to grab a log, it's still loose. And so these just don't work very well. So someone did make a mod, and it's basically the same thing, except this has tension belts or ratchet straps. So you grab it loosely like normal, and then you press the button to ratchet strap stuff down, and then it actually grabs it. And so I could use this, but I have to have the log here, which means my loader arm is there, and then I have to tilt forward, and so I lose a bunch of height, and I just don't have the height, even with that other one. So I've got this mod here, which is completely unrealistic, okay? I understand that. Like, no one is going to have something like this where you come up and then you just ratchet strap the log to it. That's crazy. But this works in game as well as this would work in real life. So we're going to pretend that we have this attachment, but really we have this attachment. And the last thing I need is a weight. And here's where I had to kind of go unrealistic again. That's because trees weigh different amounts, and the amount of weight I need kind of varies. And you got to have a big enough weight for a huge tree. But then if you don't have the huge tree on, then it picks the front of the vehicle up. And so I spent a bunch of time, and I ended up with this weight. And where's my John Deere color? Of course, we're going to make that the same color because we don't want to advertise because that's the wrong thing. What makes that weight special is it's adjustable. It's a magic weight, basically. And it lets me adjust it. I'm going to have to go get the loader arm and then come back. Each time I do this, and I've practiced this a couple times, I spawn stuff maybe in a slightly different order. I don't know, but I've not had it where the loader arm was over there. So here's my weight. And basically, as I do this, you can see the back, even before that, the back of the tractor was going down, and then you can see it add a weight to it, right? And I can add a bunch of weight, and then I'm taking the weight off right now, which for some reason taking the weight off doesn't go as fast. So it's a little janky, okay? It's a little janky. Logging in the game is janky to begin with. There goes like the fake UPS truck. The logging in the game is janky to begin with. And it's especially janky when we're doing those kind of trees, which aren't really meant for logging. And so this is how I was able to do it with this giant loader arm, because even then you're like, oh yeah, well, I mean, you made it up over that pretty well. Yeah, but remember, when I have that attachment on the front, the tree is going to hang down below it. So even now I might just barely get a tree up onto that trailer. And all of this is because in real life, I would just, if this was my log trailer, I'd be like, oh, you know what we're going to do? We're just going to cut 18 inches off of these stakes, and we're just going to make this trailer shorter. And that's really the whole issue, is that trailer's too tall. And I found some other log trailers. Don't think I didn't look for some other log trailers. I definitely did. Okay, so that's that one. I looked at this one. I looked at this one. All of these other ones, the stakes are even taller. They're even taller. That's the shortest one I can find, and it's too tall. And it's because we have a little tiny tractor, and I can't afford the big tractor or anything else. So when we do the logging, it's going to be a little unrealistic, okay? I'm sorry. The loader arm, yeah, it's not. It's too big, but it is what it is. And also, because this tractor doesn't have the hydraulic hoses where it's expected to, so you can see there's just like a little thing sticking out there that's going up and down, this piece right here. And on the real tractor, when you attach it, it doesn't do that. It like connects properly, but listen, it is what it is, okay? It's just gonna be a little janky. Okay, so what we've got to do now is we got to get all this stuff back to the farm. And there's a couple ways we could do it. Obviously, I could just drive it all back manually. That's no fun. I can hire workers, okay? And if it's something like this, because we're in the tractor right here, and this tractor has no implement for field work, so if I press H to hire a worker, it automatically comes up with create job and go to, because it knows the only thing it can do is drive somewhere. So then I go over here to the farm, I give it somewhere to go, I press Z. Sometimes it's going to drive, sometimes it's going to sit there and think forever and never go anywhere. Sometimes it's going to go unable to reach. It's very hit or miss. So like I'll try it again with this one, and I'll even back this guy up and turn him around a little bit. Can I tow this hay wagon while I'm here? Yes. So I'm going to say H. Try to give him a different location. Target's unreachable. The other guy from right up here knew how to get to the farm. Oh, now look, he's stuck up there at the road still. What's he doing? Oh, he was just waiting on traffic. Okay. But anyways, the John Deere tractor from right here knew how to get to the farm. This guy didn't. Let's try it again. Press H. It should save its location. It did. Press Z. Nope. Target is unreachable. Okay, so it's not the starting location. See, I have no way to know that. It's not the starting location. It's the destination. So let me come back over here for this target and say there. Nope. Target's unreachable. Let's just say on the main road. Didn't know how to get to that. It's very hit or miss, okay? But now let me show you the worst case scenario. Where's the other tractor? So I'll drive on up here. And now this is something that can work in a field. So I'm going to press H, and it's immediately going to go no field found, and it started to unfold the equipment. So I got to refold the equipment. So I cannot press H to tell it to go somewhere. If I hold H, it'll come up with the field detection thing. Nope, that still doesn't help me. Okay, mode, nope, that doesn't help me. Okay, none of these things help me. I have to manually go to the menu. I have to go to create job. Now I have to go back and click on the vehicle I'm in and say create job, then go back over here and give it a destination and then press Z. And now it's set to field work and driving to field because I picked the wrong thing there. I should have said go to, and instead I said field work. So he's actually going to drive over there and be like, I can't find the field. But either way. And now this guy's made it over here. So you can see that's your default options for the base game. And sometimes it's easy to just press H and be like, hey, go here. And then it goes. But then sometimes it doesn't go. And and then there's the option where you've got something that can work in a field, and then it just really doesn't want to do anything you're asking it to do. I'm going to go ahead and drop all this stuff out in the field, and we will worry about organizing it later. And I need to basically send this guy back. Now, from here, can I send you back? Looks like it. Again, you just never know. Now, there's one other way to get things back. And like I said, I've got mods installed. And some of those mods... most of those mods don't change the game. This is a mod that changes the game, and this is the only mod I have installed that's not from the in-game mod hub. It's auto drive. You actually have to go to GitHub and download it. Okay, so I came out here to the road just to show the base game. There are invisible points here on the road, and that's what the tractors follow. They don't actually pathfind from A to B. They might pathfind from A to the road, follow the road network, and then pathfind to B. And with AutoDrive, when you first install AutoDrive, it'll pop up and be like, do you want us to import the base game's, nodes or whatever it's called? And I said yes. So I click this to turn it on, and here's the base game nodes. And you notice he's going to follow, he's going to go right down to this line and follow that line, right? But those lines aren't connected, so he had to pathfind that. So that's why sometimes it'll take a second, and those lines are there, but they're not real far back. So if you started him right there, he would have to pathfind a little bit because he's got to think about going from this line to that line. But then if that line, goes all the way down, right? So I'm just kind of pointing out when the lines are connected, they don't pathfind, they just take off. And so what I want to do, and that's the base game. For AutoDrive, this stuff needs connected. Otherwise, it'll just say unconnected. And so what I need to do with AutoDrive is I just need to kind of make a few changes here. And I'm going to come back here. I'm probably, let's just shorten that up a little bit. Come back here. Start recording. Stop recording. Don't worry if you mess it up. Click that, click that. Kind of bring them over. I even like to oversteer a little bit, just if you're trying to, you got something big. Never mind the course play. Hold on, let me shut this course play off. So we've connected this little path to this little path. I'm going to come down here, and all I'm trying to do right now is make an auto drive course that goes from the farm to the shop, right? I'm not worried about anything else. So let's go back here. Maybe to this one. Start recording. Stop recording. Well, okay. I don't think it connected that because it was too long, did it? Oh, I messed it up. Hold on. What's happening here? Okay, hold on. Which one's delete the thing? Delete waypoint. Okay, so if you were coming from the farm, you could turn, you could come down onto here. I'm actually going to back up. I want to maybe swing that a little bit wider. You got to remember too, sometimes you're in like a semi or, so I kind of want to swing this out. Try not to drive all crazy with it. And that's fine. And go from here to there. And then I'm going to come back probably to this point. And I'm going to click this one, and we're going to name this shop. So that's the shop. So now in auto drive, in the drop down, I'll have shop. So if I put this guy here, and notice these arrows are one way, and then I tell this guy to go to the shop, he only has one way to get there. He's got to go out to the main road, go down, circle back, and he's going to stop at that point. And you notice how he immediately took off. He didn't pathfind. Oh, wait. I didn't give it that turn. He has to go even farther. Let's just shut that off. But that's the point, is you really want like a full auto drive network. But I'm just trying to get this going real quick because I want to use it to drive. So now if I turn it back on here, now it's going to go the right way. He was going to have to go down into where he could make a U-turn, wherever that happened to be in the base game nodes. So that's going to go back and stop at the shop. Now, before I actually do that, I need to go towards the farm now, and I need to find wherever it doesn't connect at. So let's just follow these nodes back towards the farm. Okay, so the default like network here already has all those connections, so I don't have to mess with that. That's great. Okay, this road here is not connected, and oh, right, I had to make him stop on the road because he couldn't even figure out how to pathfind his way in. I don't know. I think I'm gonna go this way. And I just messed that up. It's okay, we can always fix it. Okay, so now we're connected onto this path. We'll just drive around this guy. And I'm gonna stay closer to the field here because that fence is there. And I might be driving in here with something wide. And I'm gonna go, I think, maybe this way back out. Oh, I'm crossing the tracks. I really don't want to cross the tracks, because then if stuff goes this way, it's going to potentially hit the train. But that is kind of the way we did it, isn't it? All right, let's we can just leave those. But let's do that a little differently. Let's say instead that's our entrance. I just ran some crop over. I forgot I already bought that field. All right, so we'll come down here instead. We'll swing this nice and wide. We'll bring this all the way down to here. Give me one more note there. We'll go ahead and name this one farm. Is it still recording? I think so. And I'm just going to drive back out this way. And the fact that these are both on top of each other, it doesn't matter, because the only way for something to get to the farm, the thing we just labeled farm, is to follow the arrows. And so it's only going to come in the way that I just made. Now see, now here I'm not sure which one's which, so I've got to... It's that one. So they won't be able to come in this way, because if they came in this way, they can't get to that marker. All right, so here comes the big advantage of auto drive. I already showed what you can do in the base game. So if you're on console, yeah, you can't get auto drive. I'm sorry. You got to do it the way I showed, which is if you don't have something that works in the field, you just press H or whatever the console button is, and it's not that bad. When you've got something that works in the field, it's a bunch of extra steps. Even then, it's kind of hit or miss or whatever. So here we go. I've got all of these. I've got 5 things ready to go, and they're all set to farm. I can just go farm, 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 farm. And there we go. The whole convoy takes off. It's all going to the farm. When it shows up, I can just very quickly go through and reset all of those back to store. Of course, drop off their trailers and whatever, and then send them all back here to pick up more stuff. So auto drive, and it should be in the base game. That's the main reason I'm showing it to you in episode 1, is this should be a base game function, because they're almost there. They're almost there. It's just that they didn't go the extra step to let you do it easily. Sir. Sir, what are you waiting on? Oh. Pretty sure that was someone else when I was... Like that was a blonde woman in there. Okay. What are you waiting on? Oh. Listen, if a UTV pulling a little water trailer rear-ended you, you were probably driving too slow. I guess we'll go ahead and get the cows some water. One of the reasons I left this is because this gets us free water. I mean, it costs $5,000 to buy this thing, but it gets us free water, so we can go over and give the cows some water. I do like, though, in some of the previous farming simulator games, you had to buy water on your farm, which, yeah, okay, like most farms would have a well, and yeah, it costs a little bit of money. You got to pay electricity for the well pump. I don't know where the other guys are. Oh, I see a school bus out there. We've definitely gotten another accident. So auto drive works pretty good, but you will have problems. And if you're moving a bunch of stuff, especially if something's big, you might need to turn off traffic or, you know, like this. And having a 3-point on the front is actually quite useful. Even if you can't use the thing on the front, being able to put it on the front and then put something else on the back means I can move two 3-point things at once. All right, got everything back. So the baler and the hay wagon are going to go in there because you can't really back the two of them up. The 2 tractors will be able to park in there. What I've got over here, I've got our sprayer and the tanks there. The plow is there. The front end loader and its weight is there. We'll put our bales for the time being under that cover storage right there. There's our fuel point. There's no fuel in it yet. I've got the mower and then the windrower and the tedder in there. Here I've got the weeder and the roller and then the lime or the fertilizer spreader. We'll just park the cultivator outside. I've got the header trailer there. I've got the corn header in there and the seeders in there. And the combine and the truck will also go in there, but right now they're staged over here because we are going to have to harvest that field and we're going to have harvest the other field. But before I do that, just a couple more things left to do. One of which, got to have our pressure washer so I can wash stuff. But it's going to make me put it out there, but I can move it. And then I have this, and I'm trying to remember, I think, well, it's as close as I can get it. I would like to have gotten it back a little bit better than that, but whatever. So now we've got a spot, because I like to have somewhere back at the farm where I can repair my stuff and wash my stuff. And ideally, the fuel point would be over here too, but whatever, that's fine. So I can come in and I can repair it if it needs repaired. I can go ahead and wash it all up. We can get it all clean. You wouldn't think it'd be that dirty because we did spend most of the time on the road, but you know, things got dirty. Do a little power wash simulator there. And maybe I'll move the fuel tank over here too at some point. Okay, go ahead and shut both those off. All right, so I think that's more than enough for today. What we've got to do next time is we're going to have to harvest this field. We're going to have to harvest the field over there. We're going to have a little bit, I shouldn't have clicked that to get my mouse cursor. We're going to have a little bit of straw in that field. We're going to have a bunch of straw in this field. We're going to have a bunch of straw in that field. We're going to have to harvest all that. And then we're going to have to bale some grass back here and some grass back here. We're going to need to plow these fields in together, and then that field, and then this what'll be one, and then that one over there. Oh, then we're going to need lime, and they're going to need fertilizer, and they're going to need cultivated. And then logging. Yeah, see, there's a lot. There's a lot to do. All right, well, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.